So Sunraku did the thing that I feel like a lot of us end up doing where we think we know better than the video game, right? We've played enough video games, we don't need no stinking tutorial, we don't need to go to the starting area, we'll go on our own path and we'll figure out the game. And in Sunraku's defense, he did a pretty good job. I mean, he's been pretty much fighting at a handicap this whole time, and the idea that he just gets this hilarious awakening, this rude awakening in a way, where his pals just sit next to him talking about these skills, these upgrades, linking them together, and he's just like, yeah, you're talking about a different video game. That's a little weird. And he's like, bro, what are you talking about? We do it in this game too. And his reaction to realizing that, oh, I had no idea. I just saw the names change and I just assumed it is what it is. I guarantee you, had Sunraku not gone off the beaten path and went to the starting area like the game was trying to direct him, he probably would have learned all of that right away. And the idea that he messed up in the way that it hindered him, not in the way that it ruined the game, but just he gave himself a handicap he didn't need. But when you think of Sunraku in general, he's always had something that has penalized him or just made it feel like he's struggling more than he needs to. But this is the most Sunraku moment yet, and I think definitely goes to show that even if we think we know exactly what a game wants to do, there's usually at least one little piece of information that tutorial or that starting area will give us. And it's important to give it an honest shot, else we might get 30 hours into a video game and realize, oh wait, we're not limited to just the starting pistol and there was this secret assault rifle the whole time? Damn, would that have been a lot more easy in the early stages, but that's fantastic. Full live reaction, episode 12, that Shangri-La Frontier greatness over on my Patreon. If you would like to see my full and good thoughts, they're over there if you're interested. Now, this was another great episode. We are now 12 episodes deep into this 25 episode anime. And I am still so happy that, we're not going to have to wait how many months to potentially see more. No, we get 25 episodes of a very refined production. Yes, there's certain shots, there's a lot of wandering in this episode, and there's some medium or even long distance shots that if you really zoom in on the character models, they're not going to look that great, but who the hell cares, honestly. The meat and potatoes, the up close and personal, and the animation is all remaining consistent. So, like I thought, they pretty much are fishing for Gyarados. The first one, they just catch a salmon. Buddy has insane luck stat. I think he might actually be the luck build. I mean, he's a melee fighter with a ridiculous amount of vitality, so a lot of health, and just is going to beat the living shit out of people. Pulls up the sea serpent, and it was a very fun fight. It's pretty quick and to the point, but they do a really good job at flexing the visual flair of the show while also doing something different than the previous fight. So, turns out Sunraku didn't just get one new weapon made for him, he actually has a second, and this one's pretty cool. It's basically like a poison weapon. So, the idea of some of the things that have happened to Sunraku where his body kind of corrodes and it kind of shatters or he has new weak points, he can now do that to opponents. So basically, if you get in some damage, pretty much make a visible hole or at least a visible mark on the character's body. So if you do it, you'll probably get more and more criticals, but it also corrodes over time, acting like a poison, and it's really cool to see that all work out, and the teamwork of the three of them just bringing this fool down. But my favorite thing about, I think, the action is how different the animation actually is for the enemies they're fighting. Now, we have a pretty good variety of what we've seen over 12 episodes. It really doesn't feel like your generic, here's a slime, here's a goblin, this, that, and the third. No, they've done something different almost every episode, or at least every time we've had action. There's a very unique kind of character design, like spiders and bees. It's just this feels like if you're actually in a VR MMORPG with this level of technology, this level of advancements, you should have something that's basically the WoW of their world, and this is exactly what it is. So when the death blows are kind of coming, I think it's when he punches into the, I think it's around the stomach or neck area, instead of just having the character fall over, no, the sea serpent, the neck kind of snaps upwards and it gets all tense, and it's just those are the little moments that I really appreciate about the animation, is that based on how the character interacts with the enemy, the body responds in a realistic way for that interaction. And I think those are the little moments that go underappreciated, because it's easy for people to be like, yeah, that animation looked good or that punch looked good, but there's a lot of little moving parts that make it look that good. It's not just the sparks flying on screen or the effects kind of shattering around. No, it's the fact that when a character punches someone, that punch responds to their body in a realistic way, as if they really are playing something that isn't pre-programmed, that the game is responding to real actions and movements, and that's really impressive. We do get some pretty big confirmation, I think anyway, on Setsuna, which is The NPC. So about 2 episodes ago, when our girl comes in basically kind of like wanting to recruit our boys into doing this big mission, she was trying to get her PK guild to kind of like change tune and go after this beast and everything. And there was these hints about Setsuna, this NPC that died. Or at least there was a character that died. It was up in the air, and I said that at the time. Is it a player or is it an NPC? Then the next week comes around and we get the confirmation it's an NPC. I thought it was a Vorpal bunny. I really did. Still could be. But given the humanoid form, I mean, you can make the argument, I mean, Vorpal bunnies can turn and look like humans, but would they look like that in death? I don't know. But either way, it does seem like she has a pretty deep-rooted connection to Setsuna, and apparently we need this character in order to even fight the floor boss. So that's pretty interesting. It could be the direction that it wasn't her NPC pal that she was traveling with, but more so, maybe she just bonded with her, because I mean, at the end of the day, and this is something I talked about last week, when we play video games in our own world that are RPGs with character and story driven, we get connected to characters in video games the same way we do when we watch an anime or watch a movie or read a book, right? Because if they're well written, we feel connected to them. Imagine playing a video game and coming across a ghost of an NPC. It's entirely possible that you could bond with that and want to avenge them for being killed if they feel as alive as Emil does. Like, seriously, this little Vorpal bunny acts and breathes like a player does. Like, there's no difference in personality or character than the human characters we interact with. It's entirely possible to bond and actually make a friendship, especially if a video game feels this realistic. I'm not going to say video games in our own world make me feel like, yes, this is my best friend, Commander Shepard. No, but if I was to actually be in like a Mass Effect or Dragon Age in VR to this level, I don't see how someone, unless you just are so disconnected, wouldn't feel connections to these NPCs. And I really feel like that's a pretty common thought that you would have if technology was to this degree. Which I guess on one hand is a little scary because we'd get so lost in technology we would forget what's real. But on one hand, if you were able to separate reality from fiction, you could just legitimately have very fun connections in video games but still have a human connection outside. But I guess if we ever get to see how this type of technology evolves, we'll see what it does to society. I mean, society just keeps getting worse anyway, so who the hell cares at this point, I guess. But it's interesting because we get some more confirmation on what they're going to do with the boss fight. So apparently the big reason about why the levels doesn't matter isn't just simply because they're talented and the skill matters more. This boss is level 200 and it caps the player level at level 50. So they do need to get to level 50, but that's why they don't have to max out total. And that's kind of insane. But I guess if they have the player skills, maybe they can do it. And especially if Sunraku now knows about mechanics he's been avoiding this whole time, I guess we'll see where it takes us. But even just like the simple exploration, like this almost like, it kind of felt like you were walking through at the start of this episode, this old ancient civilization that's long but forgotten. What type of technology did they have? Why did they fall? You know, you can pretty much come up with your own lore history of what happened. We only see one little fight in this area and it's like an automated turret, but I was okay just walking through, seeing the detail in the environment, knowing that at any point something automated could jump out at them and then they go down and just fish. It's just such a simple idea for an episode, but it's so effective with its execution. I absolutely think Shangri-La Frontier is the best video game anime we've seen. It feels like it's written by a gamer who loves video games but also understands video game design and development, and the result is absolutely fantastic based on these 12 episodes. But thoughts, feels yourself down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell, and like I mentioned, we had that full live reaction over on my Patreon if you're interested. And hey, while you're over there, you also get a video shout out. Alright, so today we have Matthew Bremer, Crystal Plays, K-Talk, Brett Itzka, One Up Annie, Demon69C, and James Anderson. So I appreciate the support, please take care and have a good one.